And now with the latest from City Hall, here's your City Council update.
Joined now by Councillor Bergeron. Councillor, a relatively light agenda this evening, but an interesting presentation. Our homelessness 10-year strategic plan is halfway through. I'll get your thoughts on the process so far and that report.
So I'm 8 months into the 10-year plan, but it's good to receive it. They're coming back on the 12th of August with some actionable items. I'm glad Councillor McDonald asked those questions. I would have asked them as well. What can we do as a council to help this? A lot of that funding is from the province. So personally, I like action items to a council meeting, and so they answered that question. So I'm hoping on August 12th it comes back with some real concrete action items that this council can take to move this forward. The housing stock, I sit on the Cornwall Area Housing Board, and I'm learning more about this issue as I go. It's a big issue in Cornwall, and it's not to be taken lightly. So yeah, we received the report today, not a big council decision, but I think a month from now that'll be a little bit more debate on how we implement this.
Absolutely, and another motion that will be returning is in terms of energy saving, a report, and going with that theme, you definitely wanted to see more action items on that report.
Yeah, once again, I asked to defer this, and that's more a process issue for me. I really want to work with administration on defining how we hit that target of 30% reduction in energy consumption. That's fantastic. That's the kind of bold moves we need to be making as a city. But when you have 4 days to absorb a report and just pass it, as a councillor, it becomes a little tricky to voice my opinion, emotions. And so I asked to defer it. Council agreed. We did the same thing with the asset management policy a few weeks ago, which is really boring. It's just governance, but it's important that council get to have a voice before we also approve it. To me, that's one of the big issues of city council, is that we receive things too late. And so this deferral was very specific to say, look, thank you for the report. I want to work with you to make this better. Let's bring it back to council. Council still gets to make that decision. It is a public conversation, but that next 4 weeks becomes critical, and how do we implement a 30% reduction in energy consumption from the city of Cornwall? That's amazing, and that's not an easy target to hit. So I want to make sure we as a council can support that fully.
Absolutely, and you alluded to it being a bold move, and we've been seeing a little bit more emphasis on the environment and climate change within this council. And do you foresee that continuing with this council so far, and maybe some bold moves?
I hope so. I ran on big, bold ideas as my campaign slogan, but as it relates to the environment, it's the top issue as far as I'm concerned. Everything stems from there. The economy stems from the environment. Everything goes from there. So at the very least, we need to be tracking our environmental footprint, and that's what that was about. The fact that it's been added to our strategic plan as one of our 5 big key strategies is really important to me, and I'm glad council has approved it. Now, what do we do? How do we actually implement it? That's why the mayor brought up today that council needs to sit back and say, all right, we received all this information at strategic planning, but before it goes back for implementation, council needs to sit down and say, are these our real goals? And I think they are. I think there's some tweaking that we're going to do at that meeting that the mayor was alluding to. But yes, I hope the environment is a key election issue in all elections, because we're in a climate emergency. There's a crisis happening right now. We as a city can actually do something about that. We are governors, we are the government, and we can do things. So I hope it stays top priority.
And another theme that keeps hopping up is strategic planning. I know council held its first strategic planning session last month. It was a busy month. I'll just get your thoughts on that process so far and how that first meeting went.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is why I asked the mayor that we have another meeting about it. We covered a lot in one day. So in 8 hours, you can't make a 5-year plan for a city. I just don't believe that. And so a lot of good ideas came from that. But I think now the time is for council to review these ideas, to really debate them in a public forum. As councillors, we speak on behalf of the people of Cornwall, and to get those issues out there and front and center and really line up that plan for the next 4 or 5 years, for this term of council at the very least, so that our strategic plan isn't just a document. It's this implementable, achievable thing that makes the city better at the end of the day.
Excellent. Well, Councillor Bergeron, thank you so much for joining me.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.